best champion in the game is? And he was like, Sivir. And it's like, immediately he said that. So the team very quickly found alignment around that, and they're willing to first pick it really quickly.
I think one of the things they may have fallen into when I interviewed WildTurtle last week was I asked them what do they favor in the meta, and they favor strong things in every lane. And like you said, strong thing, or not like you said, but as you were speaking, the team's not coming together. Strong things in every lane doesn't always make a good composition.
Yeah, it's true, and it'll be very interesting to see how the rest of Immortals team composition comes together, whether they just pick laning champions or whether they find a cohesive tank force to work with the Sivir initiation.
All right, GBM. We saw some Ahri last week. The team's been really going back and forth with picks on the side of NRG, but it's going to be the Malzahar this time with a lock-in and Braum from Kiwikid.
Yeah, this is a champion who was reworked in the mid-season Mage update, saw very little play at the beginning of LCS, and then all of a sudden a few people started making it work, and it just exploded everywhere. This champion has actually been strong the entire time with the way he has a very simplistic wave clear pattern to get farmed, and then is very difficult to deal with in team fights. So this is a champion where you can carry a game with it if you're doing well. So look for GBM to try and make some big plays on Malzahar.
Ooh, do we get a Taric glove from Adrian? And we do. ReignOver locks in the Nidalee, so aggression left and right here from Immortals.
Yeah, how's that for some CC? Taric's another one of those champions that was changed a while ago, and I've been curious why we haven't seen more of him. It's coming back a little bit more. We're seeing more and more of it, especially over in Korea, and I love it when you're pairing it with other ways to aid initiation. The biggest combo I've seen has been Taric with a Hecarim jungle. Immortals could actually run Taric with the Hecarim top. And I think they're probably going to do that since it's a champion Huni plays a lot of.
Ooh. Let's see Huni back on something where he can continuously dive into the fight. We know how much he loves his Riven and super aggressive picks, so that would be huge to see. Probably won't be that Rise as we already have a Malzahar in the match. And what will they decide to pick here? Maybe leaving that top laner up. Quas usually gets the counter pick for the team.
Yeah.
So we'll get that jungler in Graves.
And especially for Immortals, who has traditionally been the top lane focused team, this split it's been a little bit more about the mid lane, but it makes the most sense for NRG to be quite non-committal with those last two picks, since they've already locked in a power pick mid laner. Even if it wasn't against Immortals, it would still be the smart call to leave the last pick for Quas for the counter.
Pretty good fight composition from NRG that can almost meet face-to-face here with Immortals.
It's a really good spread of damage.
Right.
The only thing they wouldn't have is a very strong way of initiating. Malzahar can kind of fill that void if he just ults out of nothing. Oh, really? Unintentional puns with the cat today. But
again.
Yeah, it works. It works decently.
On the side of Immortals, whoa, what are the last two? What are you going to round out with? Gnar has been quite a big pickup here. Be something else to really lock onto with Taric. And we have Adrian locking in the Taliyah for Pobelter.
All right. So, hover that for 52 more seconds, Kiwikid, and we're going to get to see Rammus top, which is actually better than Rammus support. For those of you wondering, there was Team Liquid Academy, ran out of time, and accidentally had Rammus in a very pivotal game of the Challenger Series. That is what Kiwikid is trolling with right now. But to talk about the Gnar and the Taliyah, Taliyah had changes this patch. Not sure if those are necessarily nerfs or buffs. The targeting paradigm on the knockaway is different, so you can actually combo your spells a little bit faster.
A little quicker, right.
But there are some other nerfs to Taliyah to kind of equalize those things. And Gnar is something that Huni found a lot of success with last week, but because he's picking up blind, I think he was probably a little bit worried about picking Hecarim, although I feel like that would have synergized much better from a team perspective with the Taric.
He is ready to go. Well, Immortals bringing out the Taric this time.
They waited a long time to switch that to Maokai.
Quas have. And he is going to choose the Maokai. The tree gets a little bit of playtime for himself again as well.
Well, that pick is really not picking for the lane much at all.
No.
But it's definitely picking for the team fights. It gives NRG a very strong tank line, very reliable ways of initiating, and is just basically a team fighting powerhouse as far as it goes. Whereas you look at Immortals, when they have stuff like Taliyah for the roaming potential, and even Sivir for the move speed, not to mention a Nidalee jungle who's not that great in team fighting, Immortals is going to play the map a lot more than NRG, and it's going to be about NRG trying to force team fights when they're not too far behind.
When you go into that game hoping for Cloud Drakes now, and you're like, let's get that macro game under control.
Gotta go fast.
Gotta go super fast. The records show that this is going to be an uphill battle. The 13-1 to a 4-10 right now. Immortals versus NRG about to get themselves onto the Rift. We see the picks and bans pretty solid from both teams, cohesive in the fact that they want to get something done in either fighting or disengaging. Both teams showing fight this time, and that's what we like to see.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good match.
I think so. I mean, Immortals still has one of those things where they're not the most reliable as far as initiation goes, but they definitely have the tools to snowball ahead of the game.
We'll see what happens. These teams are loading in and need your support over on Twitter. Tweet using the hashtag IMTWin or the hashtag NRGWin to back your team as they get into game. It seems like we have a lot of NRG fans in the house here, hoping that NRG continues through these next 4 very tough games against top teams in the LCS, hoping they can grab a playoff spot. And we're about to be onto the Rift to see if Immortals has anything to say about it.
Yeah, it would be an incredible run if NRG could go through the top tier of the LCS to make the playoffs. And if they did that, you'd actually have to consider them as a contender. So, like, if you're trying to motivate NRG to make these last 2 weeks really matter, you have all the tools. Like, they're playing against playoff teams right now. So if they win in, they'd have so much confidence going into the playoffs. But like you said, that's actually fairly unlikely because they're 4-10 coming in and because they haven't been able to gel throughout the season, where Immortals has gelled throughout the season, and they're the ones that already had the playoff bye. But as we say, both these teams have stuff to play for. Immortals wants to go as undefeated as possible, so they have a chance of taking the #1 seed away from TSM in the playoffs, and that's what they're looking to do here.
It's one of those times when, man, wins here really matter, more so in the beginning of the split. If you took pressure off, if you got this win early, you'd kind of be able to sit lax here. But now there's even more pressure. You have to force yourself into one of those playoff spots. Here teams are going to test might a little bit in the river as they head back and forth. Prolific Visions over onto Pobelter as they know they're not going to be able to finish pretty much anything off here.
All that to get 1 ward on the Braum for NRG, which is still relatively effective. They didn't die for it. They didn't lose any summoner spells, and they only took a little bit of damage. They incurred some risk to get that level 1 off. And what it does is it somewhat secures knowledge for the lane swap, because if a duo lane is doing the safest lane swap strat possible, they would either invade you to stop, or the safest one possible is just do their own camp, and they can stop them from doing the Braum since they have vision of it. And even with the ward here, they know they're not doing that, so they're actually 1 or 2 men invading to try and stop this jungle path, but they're a little too late.
Seems like they break off. If they were to see more, maybe the potential kill, but now he can get back and potentially not miss any. So good timing there from Oku. Seems like OQ. I'm gonna keep messing that up, and I don't know why.
Yeah, something a little peculiar happened right here. Basically, a lot of times you expect the jungler to stop on what is the weak side, which is where the top laner is going to be swapped against, so that he can clear that jungle right away and then move on to the rest of the map. Here, that's not where ReignOver started. He started on what is his strong side of the map, and now he's going late to his weak side. So if he's a little bit low, he's in danger of getting invaded by Santorin, but that would require Kiwikid to be there to help with the invade. Normally, you could just 2-man invade this and then prompt a dive on the top lane, but it actually looks like NRG's going for a delayed 2v2, and they're going to lane Braum with Maokai. And Santorin's going to do the invade, but he just doesn't have help.
He's going to see the pathing now of ReignOver. This may actually be taken out. ReignOver has Smite, can't get into range as Santorin plays kind of goal side to that. And ReignOver on Nidalee, out of blue.
Yeah, I mean, that's the inherent danger of ReignOver's pathing. He was trying to go towards what should have been his weak side of the map, and he was keeping himself pretty low on health. He tried to rush to the blue buff, so like he knew the invade was a possibility, and he just gets burned. And now Kiwikid's actually going to try and stop him at red, and he's already used Smite for the heal, so he's going to get pushed off this too.
Oh, second guess. Santorin almost second guessed his as well.
Oh no, GBM's not there for lane pressure.
GBM says, I'm not, I back. And it looks like top side, Huni decides to stay and actually put pressure onto this turret. It may cost him his life instantly, or I'd rather say very rapidly trying to charge his Gnar bar ups. He knows he's going to get dove.
Yeah, OQ took a turret shot there, so if they get aggro, it has to be Santorin. Teleport in to try and trap Huni. He will go mega.
He bounces out, gives himself the distance. Oh, cannot get it through with the attack. Looks for OQ on the wallet.
Yeah.
Doesn't even come through.
I actually think this is a pretty heavily mismanaged early game by Immortals. They had the early game knowledge, but they started with the greedy jungle path, and maybe just because NRG seemed so random in what they were doing with the way Kiwikid was running around, but because Santorin's invade worked, Huni then didn't respect going off the turret.
Right.
He did technically deny assist gold on first blood, which is about 200 gold he denied by only dying to OQ. But it's not like you're denying that much when you give first blood to the opponent 80 carry. So great start for NRG.
So we'll see this one more time as it comes in. Immortals just, or Huni rather, trying to draw this out.
Yeah, he knew Santorin and Maokai were coming in from behind, so he was dead either way, and he thought maybe I can get a summer spell or a kill. He gets the heal, and he denies the assist gold. As far as being in that exact situation, he got a decent output, but he shouldn't have been in by that turret in the first place.
So, looking at what Immortals could have done, what's the result if all of that worked? The strong side to weak side, how far do they actually come out ahead if it works?
So they actually would jump a little bit because they'd basically get to control 3 quadrants of the jungle.
Okay.
At the very start of the game, Adrian invaded the blue buff side of NRG, and that would have technically denied that from Santorin. And then if ReignOver can clear his blue before Santorin invades, Santorin would have lost out on a lot of time, and ReignOver would have supercharged him, which is like something ReignOver is usually really good at predicting, because once he gets a small edge on the enemy jungler, he will cycle through the enemy's jungle over and over again and never let that guy catch up. So I kind of understand why they went for it, but it did not work because Santorin invaded at the right time, and then they made the second punish by killing Huni at the turret, who was trying to just be greedy with experience. Since he knew that Quas was going to back off and was not getting as much farm, he was then making a greedy choice to try and get his own advantages. But both of those were punished by NRG.
Bit of the backfire there for Immortals. Good CSing by Pobelter in mid. And a bit in the jungle as ReignOver continues the power farm. Keeps him up in gold, but it's very, very little right now. So anybody's matchup. Lanes have swapped back before any turrets were taken down, especially after that dive. You figure they would have taken top, but no go. We're into standard lanes now.
And this now becomes a very difficult lane for WildTurtle and Adrian. Taric synergizes very well with like really good melee engagers. He's not that spectacular of a laner, and we have WildTurtle who backed on a call, and OQ who backed on a serrated Dirk because of First Blood. So without jungle attention, NRG should be bullying this lane against Immortals. In the past, they haven't been able to really punish CS advantages or early kills, but this is another one of those opportunities where they should be able to punish.
Long walk back to that tower for OQ and Kiwikid if they get hit in the right spot. ReignOver is on the bottom side of the map. It looks like they're actually really happy keeping this at just that 75% mark and farming it in front of the turret.
Yeah, as long as they can keep the wave in this position, it is very difficult for NRG to punish. So either OQ needs to shove that wave all the way in and start harassing under turret and basically wait for it to bounce back, or he's not going to be able to punish the wave.
Up for ReignOver, or rather Pobelter in the mid lane, giving him the aura from Raptor Pit to clear some waves. Not too much gank on that mid. We saw Kiwikid with a very early pressure there. Santorin with a visit to clear a ward, so it may actually pop off in a second. We get a little bit of action as they have hit level 6 and 7 in that spot.
Well, they know Quas is level 5. It would be a very greedy gank. It's so hard to kill Maokai, especially once he has his ultimate. So basically what happened there is Quas at level 6, and Immortals thought, no way we're ganking this.
That's unfortunate.
Oh, they're pinging it again.
Some of the timing is going against them, and no teleports to come from Pobelter. I mean, he could fly up the map.
Yeah, he would have needed to have started the roam a little bit already to make the scene, but they're going to try and go in it with 2. Huni's going to try and get Gnar, and they're going to go for it.
See how he uses Twisted Advance here to dodge out on some of the damage. Slaps up
nice
against the wall. The wallet follows up, and it's actually the crowd control now mitigated from the Vengeful Maelstrom. That's going to be a kill onto Huni, and ReignOver almost goes down, but he eagle-eyes the kill on Quas.
And that just goes to show how difficult it is to kill a level 6 Maokai. Like, Huni got the perfect CC chain, going Gnar and getting the instant stun, and they still can't kill him because he had his ultimate up for the damage reduction, and if Quas would have been a little bit better with that final juke, he would have gotten a kill for nothing.
And you knew what they were saying. Yeah, I got Narbar. Let's actually go for it.
Yeah, Quas pops his ultimate very early, which is smart, because the minion wave was going to run out if they decide to wait for his ultimate to go down. Looks like...
Oh, that heal, though.
I need to watch that again, but it almost looks like ReignOver didn't get his Q off, which could have been execute damage, or he didn't, it just didn't do that much damage because he's a low level. Either way, that max rank Spirit is the only thing salvages the gank for Immortals, because technically they get more team gold for that since they get the assist pool, but as far as the resources dedicated, that is another win for NRG. With all that being said, though, Riv, they're up 300 gold.
I know, still, it's crazy. Immortals fighting the bottom lane as well. A quick Raptor cloak by from Quas immediately as he goes back. Nice stand behind me from Kiwikid to try and stop any return damage, but the culling doesn't exactly hit on WildTurtle. So that all fizzles out. Immortals, they keep coming up short on things, but then they keep having the lead. Is this the point where it turns? Come up a little short on killing Pobelter. Gonna call for the TPs, and both of those are stopped in the mid lane.
Yeah, that gank was maybe GBM thought he was more powerful than he actually was. When you're gonna do that gank with Malzahar, you need to either put a Voidling out or get a Malefic Visions onto the guy you're gonna be ganking. He did neither of those things, so he's pretty much just holding one place for the greatest skill shot. The Santorin's not fed enough to burst him out yet.
And look at this guy. Lost his blue, got kind of pressured at his red, still crushing on Santorin, finding where he is in the jungle. Huni trying to take control here, the top side.
That hurts.
Weaver's wall to the top, and it's going to be some worked ground as both Huni and Pobelter come up for a kill.
Yeah, if at first you don't succeed, send more people next time. For Immortals, Pobelter, that's the reason a lot of these teams are picking Taliyah, and it's because of the ability to help other lanes. What's interesting about Pobelter here is he's just on a Doran's ring, so that means he hasn't based this entire game. And that was after absorbing a gank from GBM. So as far as like overall performance, GBM has not been putting any pressure on that lane. Pobelter has been able to roam, absorb ganks, and then still gets something to go up in the top lane. GBM needs to do better in that lane because Pobelter got a gank off and is still way up in CS.
I remember Bjergsen talking in his interview to Azael about kind of playing against other champions in mid lane, how Pyrian doesn't back very often. Pobelter's sitting on 3,300 plus gold that he just went back to spend. Talk about not going back in lane. Yeah. And then getting a kill to put even more on it. He's going to come back so powerful, it's almost like GBM won't know what he's going to face. So
exactly,
that's absolutely crazy, but also shows you how much Immortals feel like they're in control.
Yeah, he's able to get a full Morellonomicon, boots, a refillable potion, and a pink ward, whereas GBM is just coming back with the components for the Morellonomicon. That is a pretty big power jump for Pobelter. Not only will he do more damage, he's going to be faster.
Yeah.
And considering he was already winning the lane beforehand when he was down at Doran's ring, since GBM had gone for an early back at level 3 and still didn't get lane pressure, I mean, it just stacks the advantages in Pobelter's favor. That's why they're ganking him.
Yeah, that's why they're trying to get a little bit of that back. He's only got 1 assist there from what we saw in the top lane, so a lot of this has been worked in mid. GBM and Pobelter basically playing who can push the minion wave faster, as they're getting action in the side waves. That finished Ghostblade is doing quite a bit of damage, and Turtle's gonna be forced to ult out.
Yeah, they get 2 summoners as well, but Kiwikid used 2. WildTurtle backing here will hurt his overall CS score, but this is actually another one of those situations where they're doing quite well in what should have been a disadvantage matchup.
Oh my word.
Some good harass.
Very good harass, even being pulled under the turret for it. Black Cleaver first for Huni. Love it. Just go for damage. Everybody damage this game. Let's see what happens. 2,000 gold lead. Lanes are pretty much pushed up, and Pobelter's starting to creep up.
This is super interesting, actually. They're sending their whole team here, if only a little slow. Pobelter's going to go first to cut Quas off. Well, he's in trouble.
If nobody responds in time, they're going to come up with a second turret on this as well. It's not like they cut too many off. They're just really good at getting somewhere. Now they're kind of taking time. No ignite here. That's the Morellonomicon, but it will hurt Quas on the auto attack heal. They are throwing everything they have here. They finally get him down. Huni almost cost his life for that attack. And now we'll see how NRG rotates for this.
Yeah, well, NRG was taking the dragon during all that, so it is an Infernal Drake. That won't give them immediate power, but it's one of the better Drakes later in the game. Immortals is going to continue this push here, so it's kind of a race between how much NRG can push and how much Immortals can. They're already on the tier 2. NRG just now getting to that mid lane wave.
You got attack speed coming out of ReignOver's Nidalee. That could be going on to WildTurtle. They're definitely going to push quite fast. There's 2. No turrets yet on that bottom side that are trying to be pushed. No turrets actually for NRG yet at all.
Yeah, and even thinking back to the soundbite we got from Kiwikid at the start of the game, he said it's not fun to just have other teams kind of walk around and do what they want to you. Yeah. It's happening again, actually. And even though NRG had some really favorable things happen for them in the early game, we look at the team compositions. NRG definitely picked for team fighting, but they had a favorable bottom lane matchup, and they were able to punish the jungle and top lane a little bit early. But none of that's mattered. The mid lane has been super in Immortals' favor. The top lane has been in their favor. And WildTurtle and Adrian have hung on miraculously, so they're getting that big early game lead, which could potentially overcome NRG's team fighting prowess later in the game from a composition standpoint.
It's weird seeing everything Santorin did in the early game, and then you have teams like TSM like Immortals that always choose the right thing that seems to put them ahead, that makes it seem like nothing actually was ever wrong. They always find that one instance. Here, it seemed to be continuously going top, throwing off energy, and making sure that they could just keep that macro play.
Absolutely. Some of the bets that Immortals made weren't paying off, but then you look at NRG and they weren't making any bets. So they just kind of allowed Immortals to get ahead through like even smaller things over and over again, whether that's Pobelter staying in lane for a super long time and GBM not having lane pressure. For reasons like that, we haven't been able to keep the camera on mid lane very long, but Taliyah has actually been able to shove in GBM over and over again. So GBM's never been able to get that voidling spam going in the mid lane, which is what Malzahar can do in a lot of different matchups. I need to see a little bit more Taliyah Malzahar before I can say who's favored in this matchup, but it's definitely Pobelter over GBM this game.
Pushing the wave, controlling what's going on, you are absolutely correct. Usually we see someone say, I'll just flick Victor, laser the Malefic Visions, we'll be good to go, be able to do everything, but he's doing it here, continuing to volley, work the ground, and keep the minion waves pushed. 154 to 124, a bit of a lead for OQ in that lane. If they can get him into some fights, we'll see his power that Youmuu's almost taking out WildTurtle in a few instances already. But a 4,000 gold lead mounting before 20 minutes, it's pretty big.
Yeah, the one thing NRG has is the Infernal Drake, and they're probably just going to try and stall it out. Like once GBM, he already has a few items, like he will be able to clear the wave. Unfortunately, he's already lost his first turret, and the team itself is down 4, so like their defense is already mostly broken, but really late game, it's still super hard to push into Malzahar. So at this point, that's kind of what NRG has to rely on, and that's kind of been a story of their season. It hasn't worked very well, but they still have a chance.
Quas gets a good ultimate, mitigates enough damage. That's what you kind of get Immortals, or rather who your opposing team would be, to take that one step forward, to push a little too hard. NRG looking for that fight now, but also trying to look to break down some of these outer turrets. Gold sitting right in front of them, the team can pick up. Just so hard to get with full 5 Immortals members on the map right now. Infernal Drake is going to be next again. Probably something the teams will be going after. No Zone actually goes down this time. The knock, wow, they use quite a bit. 4 ultimates to get that down. We're going to see a TP from Quas actually stomped on that as well.
Yeah, they got him though.
They
used 4 ultimates for it, and the question would be whether or not Immortals is in position to punish and do anything about that. And I don't think they immediately are. So that is a decent-sized win for NRG to go for that. The punish is going to be Rift Herald, which I think will have longer-term implications. And that's another one of those things. Immortals always kind of having the right response.
Huni, that will be his. Like you said, the right response. Like something happened, well, this is the correct way to get out of it. Grab Rift Herald, and it's actually a long one. It's almost like they put these things in place. Not that they had that in mind, but they're saying, if anything else happens, now we can rely on the Rift Herald push from Huni. We'll be good. We saw that we actually had an opening there. Always adapting, always making the other teams react, and it's a really tough place to play from.
Yeah, Immortals always able to keep the pressure up since they've been on the LCS. Huni getting better and better at this Gnar. Gnar's an interesting pick. It hasn't really caught on in many regions outside of Europe, where it's literally being banned in a lot of European LCS games. I've actually found, this is a bit of a tangent, but I've actually found the global meta to be so fascinating this year, because in years past, at least kind of season 4 and 5, they're going to go for Santorin. He has to burn flash to dodge the Taric stun, and I think Immortals actually going to get this turret. But in years past, everyone's just been like, you know what? Korea is the best. We're going to try to emulate Korea as much as possible.
Right.
But then last year at the World Championship and this year at MSI, I think throughout those tournaments, it was kind of shown that the Korean meta that they developed throughout their split wasn't the best strategy. And Korea actually adapted mid-split and then still won because they have such amazing teamwork and like coaching structure and infrastructure. But the fact that Korea's read on the meta hasn't proven to be the best is giving a lot of these other regions freedom to believe in themselves. And it's created these pockets of meta picks. Like in the spring split, it was NA with ranged supports. In EU, a little bit of it is Gnar. And even this week, the emergence of like this Kassadin Fiora 1-3-1 composition that has terrible wave clear early game, but teams are getting away with it. And I just can't wait for that to interact kind of on a global stage, or even when some teams take a pick from another region and bring it into this one. Because it's proven success somewhere, Therefore, something about it's got to be good.
Oh, Q. I don't know if he's going to like this fight too much. Oh, actually the boomerang missing. Doesn't let Piper charge up well enough. This is going to be a kill onto Huni as they go in for it. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Going pretty hard. They'll get him on the slow. They make sure it reaches the wall. But I love that conversation you're having, because there used to be worlds where it'd be Triforce. Everybody built Triforce. Pobelter's going to go down as well. No, Pobelter doesn't go down. Adrian, he tries to get there in time, cannot save him. Onto Kiwikid now. Quas onto the turret with tank on, and it looks like he's going to be able to get out of the turret range. Back and forth with the aggro of the turret as they find Immortal members. And now the question is, does Immortals know the right way out of this one?
Yeah, and as we're in this la-la land of discussion about meta picks, NRG actually makes a very big play to try and get themselves back in this game. They catch Huni. Immortals all try to use their movement speed abilities to get there, but they don't do it in synchrony, so they come one by one. And then NRG is quite honestly able to get a lot of kills. They can get the turret after that and then still push out waves, and they substantially close this gold gap.
This is when you think you're actually going to have the upper hand. I've caught their AD carry out. All right, everybody move into position. It was careless, though.
He missed that boomerang on Oki, which would have pushed him back. He does a good job of delaying this one, but maybe that just baits the rest of Immortals to thinking they can come at him because they're able to burn the Braum ultimate, and they think they can kind of turn this. So now watch Pobelter. He's actually spotted by wards, so NRG knows this is coming before the ultimate comes in, and he can't get enough damage to kill off anyone. And then the split second before the Taric ultimate would trigger invulnerability, it's a 2.5 second delay. Pobelter goes down. So Adrian's ultimate is actually useless, and since Pobelter's dead, WildTurtle, who snuck in under the turret, doesn't have any damage to help him off. So it's just this chain of events that consistently go wrong for Immortals, and it allows a lot of energy to pick up kills. And it's Santorin who gets 3 of them. They got a lot of physical damage is going to be coming through with kills, and they're going to look to make that happen for some turret kills, I think.
At 3K down, can they make Immortals play reactive, however? Top lane already being pushed by Turtle, giving NRG something to play with on the plate. They have to take care of that. Bot lane's also being pushed. So Immortals are saying, look, backs against the wall a little bit. This is the room we can give ourselves. Group after that and get the wards in. So side lanes are being pushed here. 21 minutes in, NRG kind of bite back a little bit, but I don't think they're in kind of any range to engage for themselves. Still very, very strong Pobelter. Huni is still gigantic in that top lane. NRG has a little bit more work to do.
They're definitely not in a rush.
Nope.
One thing that would need to happen, which is going to be really hard for NRG, is to get Quas to a place where he can be a meaningful tank in a team fight. He's fallen very far behind in the lane phase, and because he's up against a Black Cleaver Gnar, it's also hard for him to farm. So if he can get to a place where he's a meaningful team fight tank, then NRG can realistically come back in the game. That's going to be very hard to do, and Immortals is going to probably move towards Baron and Dragon control throughout the next 10 or 15 minutes to try and make this lead insurmountable.
Just thinking of what else in that top lane, maybe a Trundle or something. Maokai's working. Just interesting to see NRG, how they go from week to week, changing picks. Thinking the Maokai will be good here, and it is. You're going to get rushed on by Immortals, so why not try and mitigate that damage with Vengeful Maelstrom?
Yeah.
Interesting to see what their thought process is as they come in from week to week. Words. Still looking for 5,000 gold to put in their pocket here to even up the game. Last fight looked good, but you can see even they know they took that on an advantageous kind of gank.
Yeah, I will say that, at least for Immortals, the Taric hasn't worked out for them yet. Adrian hasn't been able to make any nice-looking plays, so basically they've gotten a somewhat weak lane and ineffective ultimates in teamfights. The potential is there if he can get it on ReignOver or Huni as they're diving in, or even on Pobelter, but he hasn't been able to line up those really big delay abilities in the right fashion yet. And that'll leave the window open for NRG to continue to stall out this game.
Talked about the wave clear earlier. Seems like they're doing a pretty good job of keeping it just past the second tier area. Call out the heal from WildTurtle. Or rather,
The Nidalee heal that helped him a little bit there.
I was like, wait a minute. Oh yeah,
spell.
He was in range. Whole bunch of, are you going to be here? Immortals are kind of peering through the window right now. They're like, can we get in at this spot? Can we get in at this spot? Hey guys, come over here. We can get in here. Yeah. They're just kind of waiting out energy, as much as energy is trying to wait to get themselves built up.
Exactly, and the more Immortals goes back and forth, the more pink ward vision they can cover and the more times they can consistently sweep the jungle of energy to make sure their vision is blacked out. So you can see now, ReignOver had guessed the vision was blacked out. He had guessed correctly.
Yeah.
But there's a blue trinket on OQ. And he popped it in the back. Here we go.
Oh, they're cutting off GBM. He flashes over the wall. And right back on Huni. Null Zone is down. Gonna do some nice damage, and he's not close to even Gnaring out. Kiwikid flashes in for the ult. Crowd's ready for NRG to follow up, but it's Immortals who's ready to turn this one around. Pobelter working ground on the bottom side as the boomerang cuts through Quas, but the tree still stands. And now they look each other in the eye in mid lane, nobody wanting to take the resulting fight now. OQ backs up after taking quite a bit of damage as well. Huni on the edge of Gnaring out, but he doesn't want to go in. He just gives NRG the time of day, and it looks like both teams are going to separate.
What a close fight. I would say that was by far Adrian's best Taric ult of the game because it came right at the point where NRG was going to try and finish their initiation, and it's what allowed them to turn on Kiwikid and push Quas out of the fight. From there, though, it was really kitey back and forth, and there was no reliable way for Immortals to re-initiate, so they couldn't actually get many kills. They will get the Cloud Drake here, and that's huge as far as starting fights.
Ooh, let's see this again.
Yeah, so the very start of it, he decides to not go all in because he would be basically suiciding if he goes straight in, but then Huni's ahead, and Malzahar ult does some percentage health true damage, so it gets Huni pretty low. And I love the Kiwikid ultimate, however, I don't love the follow-up after the ultimate because they needed to respect the 2.5 seconds from the Taric ultimate, and Kiwikid did not necessarily need to die there. Then the chase comes, and it's really all about who can land the right skill shots here, and not many of them do actually land. Dashed through Taliyah's stuff right there, so he took a whole bunch of damage, and then Huni nearly drops. Crazy that he goes back in for that boulder toss, but he got Mega Gnar just the right time.
What a fantastic back and forth. Pobelter, I like how Pobelter went for OQ. It just works out that Lucian wants to dash on your unraveled earth. You saw how much damage that was. Oh, still see Pobelter, or rather ReignOver, as he wards the bush. Pobelter hovering just below the team. He's actually warded out as he comes up. He might be caught by GBM. Those two are back and forth.
Both top laners TPing.
They're like, we want to help GBM, but GBM actually gets himself in there. Takes the kill for himself, comes back to help the team, walks in slow. Santorin flashes out, the boomerang goes through just about, and they're right in perfect range for Ricochet, but maybe they can't deliver the damage, and the Malefic Visions eating people away here. ReignOver over the wall, kills back and forth. He comes in for another swipe, and the heals from Adrian, keeping people alive along with just back and forth.
Woo! We're gotten ourselves some team fights here, Riv. NRG is really just trying to fight for their lives here as they have the team fight composition. They're pretty far down in gold, but look at this. He tries to hop off and GBM's just chilling there. This time he is able to prep the Voidlings before his ultimate, so the Voidlings actually hit during the ultimate, he can kill him. But then it's just a big mess of AoE in there, and you can see Quas isn't quite tanky enough, but then GBM does arrive to the fight, and he gets a lot of Malefic Vision damage off, but ReignOver played this fight tremendously. Gets the execute, flashes to the side, and then picks up a triple kill by javelin tossing and then leaping over the wall. Really slim margins for him to make that fight work because it looked like it was going to turn in the favor of NRG. But ReignOver just played the end of that fight tremendously.
Need more eyeballs to see fights like that. It's crazy. So many people going down, like little last hits. Holy moly. And a lot of flashes expended all over. Looks like Pobelter's the only one with his up on the side of Immortals, and they're all looking to come back up on the side of NRG. So dangerous times here to be roaming around. Most of the teams will be sticking together. Still a mid turret to drop down. NRG's having some trouble opening up the rest of the map. They're able to pick up the side gold, and they've kept it about a 5-6K down. It matters less and less as the game goes on, that 5-6K down.
Yeah.
But as long as they can scale up and get their core items.
Especially if GBM's able to solo kill Pobelter to kind of negate the gold advantage that Immortals is sitting on in the mid lane. Like, Pobelter's a good 1,500 gold ahead of him, so you remove that, like, the gold lead just gets smaller and smaller if they're able to do stuff like that in team fights. I should also note Quas put his Rock Portal down in the bottom lane, so he's trying to suck Huni down since they know the teleport is down. They're trying to move this into a Baron take. Immortals got to react quickly to this, otherwise Baron's going down.
Quas is Huni rather is gnarred out right now. He's got a long walk to go. It's going to be a bit of a staggered approach here from Immortals. They should be able to get it, but the exit may be a little messy. Kiwikid is low. ReignOver looks top, but then he knows the priority targets are in the pit. That's going to be Kiwikid Kiwikid down. Flashes, like I said, are down for NRG. This is going to be a tough fight to exit. And Huni knows he can get to the back line. Starts slowing down OQ, but OQ tries to return the favor and get a kill. Pobelter taking down GBM. Gets a little bit of retribution for himself from last time. Looks like, oh, everybody wants out, but Santorin gets a little love shove from Pobelter. And it's going to be an overall ace for Immortals.
There goes your Baron. Baron power play,
Yes.
the shortest one ever. Once no one has Baron,
Oh, God.
the power play ends. Maybe it lasted 20 seconds?
Maybe.
I liked the call from NRG, like the pre-planning of that play to pull Huni down to the bottom lane because of the Xerath floor to clear the wave, and then to try and rush Baron, but they had no Mountain Drakes, so they couldn't do it fairly quickly, and they clearly had no escape plan. The call should not have been to fight. It should have been to scatter.
Yeah.
And if they would have clearly called the scatter, they probably would have lost 1 or 2 people, but they would have had Baron. Instead, they get clean aced, and now they lose probably, 2 full.
Oh, working quick. Surgical procedures here by Immortals. 1-2 on the mid and bottom inhibitor and turret. And now it's just topside. We'll see this one more time.
Yeah, and you can see actually, everyone could flash around the back of the Baron pit. Braum and Lucian would be able to jump. They'd only need to flash with Malzahar and Maokai if they wanted out. But instead, GBM decides to initiate. And when Immortals can control when they're going to fight, Taric becomes insanely powerful. So as Immortals is approaching that pit, Adrian started channeling the Taric call. So the instant the fight started, Immortals were all invulnerable, which is kind of insane. And NRG has no way of actually winning that fight. So they get completely wrecked. And then as they're trying to trail, because there were some nice trinket wards, Santorin's trying to empower recall on top of a pink ward. That's never going to work. He gets caught off by Pobelter, and then ReignOver runs down for the finish on the ace.
Oh, look at this. They live here now. They set up shop. Immortals not really going to be leaving NRG's jungle as OQ tries to fight for red. And no go, sir. You're going to be losing a lot more here if Immortals keeps this up. Level 16s all over the side of Immortals to 15s. If they fight right now, that's going to be second level ultimates. NRG has to just buy a bit more time if they can.
And I don't think they can, because they're down 2 inhibitors. Huni's going to be really high level right here. Basically, Immortals are going to go for a kill on Huni, but I don't think they can get him. And now they can just 4-man push that top wave with 2 waves of supers crashing in, plus the level advantage, plus the Baron buff. This could be the game in about 2 minutes or less.
There's so much extra money. Yeah, you can see Huni already with the Iron Elixir. That's quite a bit of gold to be thrown in before you think the game's going to end. So they're saying maybe one more? We'll see if it happens now. Teleport from Quas just from the bottom lane. They got to get there now, and they got to make it fast. Kiwikid is not going to live. He gets hit by Pobelter as he volleys away. Quas is also forced out. The toughest guy can't even stand on the front line for the back line to do damage, and Immortals just have a hold in the game. Yep.
They don't have Baron minions, but NRG actually come right to them. And then very quickly, Immortals front to backs. They kill the front line. Now they can go to the back line. They're going.
There's a turret there, but there's champions. Let's kill those first. They kind of call it back. They're being organized. Immortals are doing it one by one, taking everything they can. Santorin just gets himself out of range. The volley won't count. Sticks and stones, almost breaking his bones. And we're going to see the Nexus turrets now in the eyes of Immortals. Quas doing everything he can in the front line. Thrown up against the wall. That's the 1-2 punch, and that's 1, 2, 3 members down as Kiwikid actually is coming back up now to try and help the team. The calling coming out from NRG as they go for broke here to stop Immortals. But it's only so much they can do. Immortals ahead right now. 4,000 gold is really all they've needed to keep control of the game. And they're just padded stats, Jatt. The fantasy points are trying to come through right now.
Saying, Santorin, you are doing nothing in this space, but we do want to kill you.
There's the Nexus. 18-10, 33 minutes in. Game 1 goes to Immortals.
Yeah, and it was a little bit dicey at times, but quite honestly, even after some of the rough things that happened during the game, they never really faced a gold deficit. Immortals was always able to keep the pressure up. They punished NRG when NRG tried to make their one big play of the game, which is to go and sneak the Baron buff. And it's yet another win for Immortals.
It seems like they got away with their favor in the meta. We want strong lanes. They got strong lanes, and it seemed to actually be a really big factor in ReignOver not getting all of his jungle in the beginning. Since all the lanes were doing great, ReignOver had a bit of time to say, I'll just power farm for a little bit, and then I'll come to the lanes.
And at one point, he was 1,500 gold ahead of Santorin at the early game. You add that to the fact, though, I think one of the big breaking points in this game was the fact that Pobelter had such huge lane priority over GBM, like really controlled that match through the mid lane, and that only enhanced ReignOver's ability to gank, and they were able to just control the mid and the top lane the whole game. Bottom lane went neutral, and that's how they won the game.
Well, things are bound to change for Game 2, but Immortals break the Nexus in Game 1, so we're going to send it over to Dash and Mark to review how it happened.